Well, recently, as of about a week ago, the CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated, leaving his hotel in the morning on the way to a corporate meeting. As he exited the building, he had a person lying in wait for him who snuck up behind him, shot him twice, fatally killing him. There's a lot of due diligence that needs to be done in order to make sure that these CEOs and these other executives are protected. It's not a very difficult thing to do on a low level. Situations like this are rare, but these do happen, and you can help mitigate some of them. And hopefully through the information we provide on this video, some of that information can be utilized to help avoid the next tragedy. Some people are in our life, we're so consumed with time and speed and programming of we've got to go here, 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 and here, that people need to just take a look. They need to slow down, pay attention a little bit more. Awareness is key. If you have situational awareness, if you know what to look for, where to look for it, you can mitigate a lot of the issues that you may walk into unknowing. My name's Scott Holshoe. I have a company called Drogue Inc. My background is in the 80s. I was in the Marine Corps. Got out of the Marine Corps, went to work for the government, one of the intelligence agencies. Transferred over to the private sector, spent 25 years as a private contractor to the military, foreign governments, private companies. Started my company about 18 years ago. We specialize in executive protection, global security, global threats, threat assessments. We do K&R. K&R is kidnap and ransom. So if you have a company, a lot of companies have insurance for this. If their executives work in foreign countries, they'll get kidnapped for ransom. They hire companies such as myself to either negotiate the return through a ransom or to go and do the recovery of the individual. You're in a busy city. New York City is very busy. There's a lot of people on the street, even at 6:45 in the morning. You have a CEO who was unprotected, who literally was probably just focused on going to this meeting that he was going to. So he's probably running through things in his head, not paying attention to anything around him. And he walked out of the hotel and just turned right and started walking. And the next thing you know, this assailant was behind him. The reports are that this CEO had been receiving threats pretty readily. And at some point, I think these CEOs that receive all of these threats kind of get used to it. And they feel like, nah, not me, because they're getting them all the time. And they're, oh, it's just another crazy person. It's just somebody else angry, but nobody's going to act on it. The problem is, and this is what we stress to our clients, is it may be just another threat, but send it to us. Let us look into it. Let us just do a cursory look and see, is it just another person who's, decided to wake up in the morning and send a nasty email? Or is this the same guy that sent 10 emails in the last 2 weeks? And that begins to create a pattern. And once you create a pattern, typically we find those people get more angry and more angry and more angry. And those are the people that may actually do something. Typically we would have had a 2-person team on him. We would have had one person who would have exited the building approximately 5 minutes before he would have been on the street. And we'd have been looking for people hanging around, looking for people that were suspect, looking for things out of place. Eye contact. Eye contact is huge. If you go outside and there's 3 or 4 people standing around and you make eye contact with them, they now know that you know they're there. So you've kind of put them on notice without putting them on official notice. And a lot of people who do the acts like this individual, well, one of two things. You can trigger them into doing something sooner than they would have done it, or you can push them off to where they're going to change their game plan and it doesn't work out like they have it planned. So we would have had one person out front kind of keeping an eye on things. One person would have escorted the CEO out, would have been walking with the CEO. And then at that point, you just, based on the information of the first agent who goes outside, you run the intel off of that. Did he see something? Is there a suspect person? Had he seen this person and he looked suspect with a hood and a mask and everything up in the morning, that agent would have probably stayed and held back just a little bit, what we call a tail person, and he would have kept an eye on that person until they were clear of the area. In the protection business, you're behind the 8 ball all the time, right? They know what they're going to do. We're guessing what they're going to do. So we're always trying to preempt what they're going to do. Situational awareness is when you step out of a building like that, it's looking left, looking right, looking around, just taking a visual picture of who's out there, what's going on. Does anything not sit right? Who's paying a lot of attention to that front door? Who's really focused on that front door and why? It could just be they're waiting for a movie star or something to come out. You just don't know. But you pick up on those things and you go, okay, that person's paying a lot of extra attention to the door. Why? So we start to look at those. Again, we make eye contact with that person. We make sure we make eye contact. If I have to, as the agent who goes outside, if I have to physically walk towards that person to make eye contact with them, I will. We found, and studies have found, that that is a big deal. Once you have made eye contact with somebody, you're basically saying, hey, I see you, I know you're here. If you come out and you make eye contact with someone who may just be there as a random, just looking to rob somebody on the street, if you make eye contact with them, a lot of times they're going to go, okay, well, that person knows I'm going to let that person go, and I'm going to get the next person that isn't paying attention. So the more you pay attention and the more aware you are of your surroundings, the better off you are. That, and I hate to put it this way, but the bad guy is going to go on to the next person who isn't doing that. So if you're looking to protect yourself, that's very important. Trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right or something doesn't look right, it's a pretty good possibility it isn't. And that's one thing in our industry that you have to learn to trust. If you walk outside and you go, man, that just doesn't look right, then pay a little extra attention to it. Maybe it's nothing, but at least it warrants a second look before you pass it on and go, oh, it's nothing. You know, I guess you could use that term for paranoid. It's, you don't want to be paranoid, but you want to be prepared so that you're not. If you feel somebody's following you, turn around and look. There's nothing wrong with that. If someone is targeting you as an individual, and you have a cycle of life that you do every day, you go to the same coffee shop within the same period of time, you drive the same route every day, you use the same door to go into your office, and it's just an everyday thing. 5 days a week you eat lunch at the same place, or 4 days a week you eat lunch at the same place. It's a pattern of life. And once you create that pattern or cycle of life, whatever you want to call it, when you become patternable, you're a very easy target. In the last 10 years, we've really started doing sweeps of vehicles, houses, and stuff on a regular basis. We do find air tags. We find, if you go on the internet, there's 50 different kind of GPS tracking devices that are very small, very cheap to buy, very cheap to have. And we do find them. We find them on corporate vehicles. We find them on personal vehicles. We have found them in people's homes, that service people have come through, and the only person that was in that house was a service person. And then we did a sweep, and then we did a sweep a week later, and it showed up. When you're traveling, it's big. A lot of hotel rooms, especially in foreign countries, not as much in the US, but there is some. Foreign countries, you'll find that they have hidden cameras, hidden listening devices in the hotels. So we travel with a kit of equipment that allows us to sweep the rooms. We have all the rooms that our principals would be in. We sweep all of them prior to them ever entering the room. And that too, for everything. So there's different things we can do for residential type stuff. We utilize a lot of drones, which have really become popular in the last 5 to 10 years, where if you get a large residential property of some of these people have, it's too hard to walk the property. You can't physically walk it every day, multiple times a day. I can send a drone up and I can do the whole thing in 15 minutes. And I can keep that drone active. You can create a geo grid for your drone, and you can launch the drone and it does the work for you. It just flies a pattern. High value targets, I think, sometimes live in a world that most people don't, right? They live in a world where they have things that we could never imagine having. But I think they take a lot of things for granted as well. And I think their safety is one of them. They assume that no one's going to get to them. Not me, not me. When we have a conversation with these protectees, well, I don't have that threat. I don't have that problem. And you may not at present. But opportunists are what go after your high net worth people more than anything. Most of the time, unfortunately, like the CEO of United Healthcare, he was targeted. Most of these people are not targeted. I would say the vast majority are not targeted. It's crimes of opportunity. They know that, they come out, people know, right? You're wearing a $100,000 watch. You're wearing expensive clothes. People know you have money. When you have a CEO at that level who is uber focused on work and focused on everything but their security, they sometimes forget that, yeah, I am a target because I am a wealthy individual. And I do have, I can afford to wear nice things, makes you a target. It's just the way society has gone. The average person on a day-to-day basis can do a lot of things to help their personal security. Situational awareness is number one, right? Learn to stay off your phone when you're out in public. If you're out shopping and you're in a mall, this is where we see a lot of attacks happen, especially around Christmas time, which we're getting up to. A lot of people get attacked in the parking lot. What we recommend is if you're in a shopping plaza and there's rows of cars, and let's say your car is parked in one row, walk on the other side of the other row when you go to your car. Don't walk straight to your car. Yeah, you're carrying bags, I get it, they're heavy, but if you're concerned about your safety and you're concerned about your well-being, the extra 15 seconds or 10 seconds it's going to take to do that, and the extra 30 steps you're going to incur could save your life. Because if you walk past your vehicle in another row, it gives you the opportunity to look around your vehicle, look under your vehicle, because you're at an angle, you can see underneath it. Make sure nobody's laying in wait for you. If someone is thinking you're going to that car and you walk 2 or 3 cars past it, they're going to show themselves because they're going to be like, whoa, where's this person going? Bad guys are going to wait on the passenger side of the vehicle because you're going to come to the driver's side. And once you're busy, they'll either come around the car, or if you walk up to a modern car and you hit the fob, you unlock all the doors. Once you get in the car, before you start it, all they got to do is open the door and jump in. Now they're inside your vehicle. You're in a captive audience. If you were to walk around that car first, or to stay away from the car and check it all, make sure nobody's waiting, your odds of that are much less. It's unfortunate, back in the day when you had to manually open up your car one door at a time with a key, much safer, because you were only opening one access point to that vehicle. Modern cars don't do that anymore. It's you push the fob, typically at least the front 2, if not all 4 of them open up with one push. So you've got to be conscious of that. And that's the reason why I always tell everybody, walk past the car from a distance first. Just take a look. It's going to take an extra 5 seconds. It's not that big a deal. I don't care how big a hurry you're in. Don't be in a hurry to get hurt. I think that anytime you exit any building, right? It's like crossing the street. What's the first thing you do? You look left, you look right. Everybody does it when they cross the street. Most people don't do it when you exit a building. It's the same principle. There's threats on both sides possibly. It's not a vehicle because you're not in the roadway, but as you walk out, bad guys could be sitting to the left or the right, waiting like they were for the CEO to do something harmful to you. So if you come out, look left, make eye contact with everybody who's there, look right, make eye contact with everybody who's there, then proceed in the direction you need to proceed in. If you get that feeling, turn around and go back in. If you look left and there's somebody who just doesn't make you feel comfortable or is paying too much attention to you, go back inside. There's no reason to push an issue if you don't feel comfortable. If you have a tangible threat against you and you are in a position where you can't afford a security team or someone to be at your home to help you with that situation, there's many things you can do. You can reinforce your doors, you can add deadlocks, you can put floor bolts in, which go directly into the concrete floor that block the door from being opened. There's all kinds of things you can do fairly inexpensively to protect your home and fortify your doors, which is where most people are going to try to come through. Creating obstacles is really what you're doing. You're creating barriers and obstacles. I think for personal security, it's definitely personal choice. I think if you're in a state that allows you to carry a firearm and you get the right training and you're proficient with that firearm, I think you should probably, if you're comfortable with it, carry a firearm. I think the problem in nowadays is we have a lot of states that have constitutional carry, and I'm all for it. The problem is we have a lot of people carrying guns that shouldn't be. They're not trained. They shoot once a year. They're more of a danger to themselves and people around them than they are as far as protecting for themselves. And it gives them a false sense of security. If you're going to take that responsibility of carrying that firearm on a daily basis, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to everybody else to get out there and continually train, become proficient, learn how to use the weapon the right way. Go to some of these classes that maybe get your blood pressure a little elevated when you're doing that so that you see how you act under stress. Stress is a good thing and a bad thing. It can make people raise, it can make people fold. So it's really one of those issues that I'm all for it if the people are trained properly and they do it right. Body armor, I think for people to wear body armor on a daily basis is a little overkill. I think there's other opportunities out there. If you feel you have a threat, they make a lot of backpacks that have a ballistic rating to them, for lack of a better term. Really depends on what you feel the threat level is. If it gives you a sense of security and you want to get a ballistic backpack, I'm all for it. I do think that some people kind of go overboard on some of that based on the no threat that they have or whatever, it gives them a false sense of security. And we have seen in certain instances where, you have these guys that wear body armor and they do this every day, they interject themselves into situations where they shouldn't. So you've got to kind of really look at things and what do you get involved in and what do you don't get involved in. And I think that's 100% a personal choice. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself when it comes to your personal security is situational awareness. Keep your head up, keep eye contact. Don't be afraid to look around. When I go into a restaurant, I go in anywhere. First thing I do is I look the entire restaurant over. I want to know where the back door is. I want to know where the front door is. I want to know where other exits are. I want to take a look around and see if there's anyone that I recognize or don't recognize that looks suspect. I want to look for people that are paying overly attention to me walking in. If I walk in and there's two guys staring at me and I look this way and I look back and they're still staring at me, why? Why are you staring at me? You're eating dinner. So we kind of pay attention to those type of things and we just categorize that. And then, I'll sit down and during dinner, I may look over there and just see, are they still paying attention or was it, hey, they were just paying attention because I walked in. And the more aware you are of those types of things and where you sit, where your exits are, and again, your exit may just be an active shooter. Somebody walks through the front door and starts shooting. Where do you go? Is there a bar you can hide behind? Is there a bathroom next to you can get into? Is there a back door through the kitchen? Have a plan. Don't just go through life walking around every day hoping you're going to be fine. But again, don't be paranoid. Be preparanoid, as you would put it, right? Be prepared. Being prepared and being aware are the best two things you can do for personal security.